Well, I couldn't turn that down, so I splurged and spent my 80 something dollars, right? Shipping was 25. The the ALCO was 53. And guess what? There it is. And let's see what we got here. It's pretty dry, so it's going to need some lubrication. And front trucks have the rollers and pickups, and you know, you look at these, you'll kind of look for wear down the middle of the rollers. They don't look that bad. Now the wheels themselves are pretty dirty. We'll have to address that at some point in time. But you know, die cast hook front and rear. You know, built 857 by Lionel, 1957. It's a model 218 Bonnet ALCO. Now looking inside that window, it looks to me like it's got a horn. And of course, looking on top, it's got an E unit. So we got some options on this thing. It's a little more fancy than some. And if you look at that truck, it's got both axles big in diameter, so it's a magnet traction with both axles. So, you know, the body, you know, there's some flex in it here and there, but that's pretty much par for the course. I look down the side and across the top. It's not bad. So for $80, it's one half of a A and then usually a dummy A set. I didn't get the dime, just got the powered A unit. So, and I also got these shells, and they had been painted. This one is just a Rio Grande. It's in not bad shape, you know. They painted the front a little bit. So it's not as it came from Lionel. But you see, I was looking for shells that I could paint into my kind of a burgundy color for Lehigh Valley and Pennsylvania looking shells. And here's another one that also had been painted somewhat. And kind of things I look for in the shells is to make sure that that screw hole is not broke out in the door. It does not have weight, no big deal. Make sure that the front is in decent shape. You know, look down the side, look for warps. Sometimes the plastic is deformed pretty badly. This one here is not bad at all. So no cracks, no breaks. It's a nice looking shell. Let's take a look at this one a little more. And same there, is that hole's intact, and so is the front. So I got two decent shells. Now, I want to make another powered B, so I've been grabbing these frames with the cutout in the back for the powered trucks or the pull-mores. So I ended up with two of them. I think I spent $5 or $10 a piece. So in this case here, I have enough where I can take both these and cut them, and then have possibly two motors. But if I do that, of course I can't use the magnet traction like I used on my other powered B, because I have to pick up the juice from somewhere. If I do a two motor powered B, I'm going to have to use the later model MPC powered trucks where the electrical pickups are actually on the trucks themselves. Let me see if I got a couple of things I can put in there to give a little more meat to that discussion. So here was my last powered B project, where basically I cut the back half off a frame from a standard B unit and then cut the back half of an A unit off, brazed them all together, and came up with this frame right here, which holds that B unit quite nicely. Now this one I used a magnet traction, probably a late 50s, early 60s magnet traction. Both axles are magnetized. You see those larger diameter axles. But I had to use a front truck to pick it up. I couldn't put a second motor in this B booster unit here, you know. By the way, this thing here works beautifully. There's some advantages to using a magnet traction that does slip a little bit when you start doing multiple locomotives. I kind of got into that a little bit before. And of course on this one I had to come up with some die cast hooks, front and rear. Of course this one already had a die cast hook, so it actually can pull a longer train. But this powered bee has been an absolute success. I've had a lot of fun with it and it works really well. I want to see if I can do a little better job in the cosmetics on it, you know, because this was more just an experiment to see if I could do it. And the answer is yes, and it's also worth doing. So that's why I got these other frames. But instead of using a magnet traction style, or an earlier, even if it's a non-magnet traction, where I have to have the pickups up here, I need to get a pair of these if I want to put two powered trucks in there, where the pickups are on the powered unit itself instead of up front. So, and these, the MPCs are like that, and I guess the late 60s are like that from Lionel. And of course I want the die cast side there, and I prefer a metal gear to the MPC plastic, but they last, you know what I'm saying? But if I have two of those powered trucks, and I have two of these frames cut and brazed together, and I can set underneath one of those B units, that would be a lot of fun, you know? So I guess the decision is to make a bunch of them or make one that has two motors. I'm not quite sure how we're going to go forward with that yet, but like I said before, using these self-contained powered trucks makes those projects easier as compared to what I had done before. Yeah, this is my modified dummy. This was a dummy before, and I had bought a later model MPC era ALCO chassis powered and put it on here, and then I took another truck that didn't have a hook and I used a rivet to put that hook on there. Seems to work pretty good. I can pull a lot of trains with this thing right here. This is another project that worked out quite well. So anyway, kind of getting off into the weeds, my main focus was to see whether or not my $50 or actually $80 purchase, when you include mail, actually works. Does it work? Does it run? I don't know. Hope it does. So let's see. Well, I've got my other project. I'm still figuring out how to do the lettering and the stripes to make that right. I want to make that a Lehigh Valley. But the Lehigh Valley lettering I got, that's not going to work. So let's just see. I'm just going to power it up and see whether or not this one runs. Light turns on. Let's see if it'll run by itself instead of being pushed around by my bully there. Let's see if it'll go up the hill. Probably have to do some maintenance on it. I'm not going to do a how-to. I'll let the experts do that. But we'll start just doing the standard thing. So this one had all the goodies, you know. About the only thing it doesn't have is a decoupler type of arrangement, but it's got both axles magnet traction. I put some grease on the gears. I put a little oil on each of the different bushings. It's got a hook up front, and it's a die cast hook. It's got a light. It's got the horn. This guy right here is kind of like the relay for the horn right here. And it's got the E unit. And I notice it's got that style of motor where you got one side with the spring and the other side just simply with a bent tab, and that tab is a little bit awkward. I may have to work on that just a little bit. But what I'm going to do is set a little bit of grease underneath here so it turns easier. And the other thing I'm noticing is the brushes are worn. You know, they're pretty much down in there, which means they're pretty worn. And that might create some issues. And if they, you know, are worn too much, I'll eventually pull it apart and put new brushes in there, and then I'll grease on the inside of that motor. I'm not going to do that right now, but I did get oil on each of the different bearing surfaces for the front axles, and all those little gears have got grease and oil, and also a little bit of oil in each of those little bronze bushings that the axle goes through, as well as that little piece of felt up on top, which is supposed to put a little bit of oil onto the armature bearing right there. So let's see if it works a little bit better. First, we'll just run it without the shell and see if we can make it run a little better than it did before. Okay, so now I have it up on the track. One of the things I'm going to be looking for is like sparking from the wheels itself, and that sometimes happens when you have dirty tires, so you don't have good contact. Much better. Much better. So just a little bit of lubrication. Let's see if I can back it in here. Let me pull a train, if it'll do it. See if it'll start on the hill. I guess the next question is going to be, does it play well with others, right? So let's put that B unit behind it and see whether or not it'll work well with that, or does everything get derailed. And now this has got the same powered magnet traction system of the same era, so they should play well together. All right. Well, what do you think, guys? I think that's a steal for $85 right there. That's a good running old locomotive. Now I have to hook up my whistle control in order to test the horn. But my guess is, based on what I'm saying inside, about the only thing I'm going to do this is grease it up, put some brushes in there, and let it go.